Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Demonstrators took to the streets across the country today to protest federal immigration operations. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Organizers are calling it a national shutdown. No school, work, or shopping. KPBS reporter Jake Gatta says some local businesses and schools are joining in the protest.
The owners of Verbatim Books here in North Park say they're donating 100% of proceeds today to Border Angels. That's an organization that helps support those who are navigating our immigration system. It's part of a nationwide economic blackout designed to support communities that have been targeted by Trump's immigration crackdown.
Well, we definitely, stand in solidarity with the economic strike. We did want to support them any way we can. This is just a small way that I thought it would be, something we could do.
Justine Anichu says Verbatim is more than just a bookstore. It's always been a community space. And today the shop is one of a handful around San Diego supporting the economic blackout by donating their proceeds to different organizations that support immigrant rights.
We chose to support Border Angels. We're donating all of our proceeds today to them. They do really wonderful work here in San Diego and the whole county. And they're just really a model of positive change.
Sarah Barrett is an organizer in Mira Mesa. She says this weekend is about showing solidarity with the people of Minneapolis.
And really to let people in our community know that people care and that we want to stand up for what's right and stand up for what our country should be, not what it currently is.
There will also be a protest tomorrow at the corner of Mira Mesa Boulevard and Westview Parkway. It's one of many planned around the county, and students at Mira Mesa High School walked out today to join the protest. A San Diego Unified spokesperson confirmed multiple walkouts happened at schools around the city.
Who knows how much impact today will have, but it's a statement. It gives people a sense of power. And I think when people feel a sense of power, change can happen. It's the feeling powerless is what they want us to feel. And that's what takes away our voice.
Protests are happening nationwide this weekend as Americans continue to speak out against this administration. Jake Gatta, KPBS News.
Former CNN anchor Don Lemon is out of jail tonight. He and other independent journalists were arrested for their coverage of unrest in Minnesota. Lemon's arrest happened overnight in Los Angeles. He later made a court appearance related to coverage of an anti-ICE protest in Minneapolis. Lemon spoke defiantly afterward.
I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever.
Another independent journalist, Georgia Fort, was also arrested as part of the larger case. Their attorneys say they were acting as journalists and not protesters during the event at the church. Protest was happening inside the church due to a pastor's alleged connections with ICE.
Well, we're going to be dealing with some quiet weather tonight. We are in a very warm weather pattern, so daytime weather, it's much warmer than we typically would be dealing with in late January. Overnight, we're going to be fairly warm, 51 for your low in San Diego, Chula Vista 51. There are some cool spots into the interior, Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna 41 there on the nippy side. Still warm and dry for Saturday. We're going to talk about some changes that are brewing, though. None of them involve much precipitation, though. Details ahead.
And while we're seeing above average temperatures and dry weather, parts of the southeast are bracing for a bomb cyclone. Forecasters say the storm is bringing with it the potential for record snow in some areas. Brian Abel reports on the preparations.
In a weekend weather sequel, a powerful bomb cyclone endangering parts of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. The rapidly strengthening winter storm is set to deliver unusual amounts of snow, damaging winds, and dangerous coastal flooding.
All North Carolinians should be finalizing plans now and should be prepared to stay home and off the roadways starting tonight through early next week.
More than 28 million people are under winter storm watches and warnings, with many of the areas still recovering from the deadly winter storm just a week prior.
And it's starting to feel a bit like Groundhog Week here in North Carolina.
The most impactful snowfall is expected across central and eastern North Carolina, and central and northeast South Carolina into southern Virginia. Georgia also declaring a state of emergency, with some portions expecting 2 to 4 inches of snow. Potential hurricane force wind gusts approaching nearly 75 miles per hour are expected along parts of the North Carolina and Virginia shorelines by Saturday night, with blizzard conditions possible when mixed with heavy snow. Crews along the coast working now to prepare for the system, pre-treating roads and warning residents.
NCDOT crews have been working in shifts around the clock on de-icing operations to clear the roadways from what's left from the past weekend storm, and anti-icing operations to prepare for the roads for the coming weather.
In Washington, Brian Abel, KPBS News.
It's been more than 4 years since San Diego installed protected bike lanes on a major street in North Park. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says data show the bike lanes are growing in popularity.
The bike lanes on 30th Street and North Park have been controversial. Businesses feared they would lose customers due to a loss of street parking. A group of residents even sued the city in an effort to block the project. But bike counters installed just south of University Avenue logged a ridership record in 2025. Nearly 132,000 trips. That's a 15% jump over 4 years. Jason Vance is a North Park resident and chair of the North Park Community Planning Group.
North Park is rapidly densifying. We're seeing all these giant buildings go in, and there's just not enough space for cars. So bikes are allowing more freedom of mobility. You will notice there's never traffic in the bike lanes because they generally flow freely. They're small and nimble. They don't get stuck in traffic the way that cars do.
Vance, who also works for the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, said the bike lanes on 30th still need improvement. They're frequently blocked by illegally parked cars.
If we can get more of a Dutch-style sidewalk-level bike lane, that's ideal. And I think of this as more of a quick build solution. This was a quick way to get people biking, but we still have more work to do.
Councilmember Stephen Whitburn said of the bike lane data, San Diego has the best bicycling weather in the country, and many San Diegans have said they would ride their bikes more often if they felt it was safe. It's encouraging to see more people taking advantage of these safety improvements and enjoying our city's beautiful outdoors. As to the fears that the bike lanes would hurt businesses, North Park is still a happening neighborhood, with new businesses filling up previously vacant storefronts. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The Finest podcast is back with a new season, sharing stories about the people, the art, and movements redefining culture in San Diego. And the latest episode introduces us to Elizabeth Rosales Aguilar, who runs a Mexican-inspired chocolate company from her home. And joining me with a behind-the-scenes look at the episode is host Julia Dixon-Evans. Hi, Julia.
Hey, Maya. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, especially when we're talking about chocolate, my favorite topic. So tell us about Rosales.
Yeah, she grew up in Mexico, in Tijuana, and moved to San Diego, fell in love with her husband, had trouble finding work at the time as an immigrant. And so she eventually started Raiz as this like micro-enterprise home kitchen chocolate business. And in the podcast, we hear the way that her relationship with cacao and chocolate in general is really shaped by her childhood and these traditional flavors from Mexico.
And I think what's really cool and very interesting is that she gets to do this from her home, and that's because of recent legislation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so even before like 2013, if you wanted to start a food business, you would have to rent commercial kitchen space. And so that's really like a limiting factor. You have to have a certain amount of capital in order to start a business. And so, and over the last decade or so, California and San Diego have had these laws. They're called, let me check my notes to get this right,
yep.
Cottage Food and Micro Enterprise home kitchen operation laws.
Okay.
And these laws make it so that people can sell food that they make at home.
So what has been her personal experience, personal and professional experience with these laws?
Well, I mean, they're really strict. It was a long process for her to get approval and get started, and then she has to have regular inspections. And she actually told us that she appreciates and loves those inspections because she gets a lot of guidance from the inspectors who have all of this knowledge and have all these case studies. But yeah, she has, there are rules about what she can do where, who can be there, and she's able to have in her regular kitchen, she can do certain things, storage and some of the pre-processing of the cacao. But then she has this clean room, which is the most chocolate factory-esque of all, and that's climate controlled. We had to wear hairnets and gloves and things covering our shoes when we went in there.
That sounds really fascinating. Let's take a look at some of the video that you got.
In a sunny kitchen on a quiet cul-de-sac in San Diego, a countertop juicer gets to work. But in Elizabeth Rosales Aguilar's kitchen, that juicer is cracking whole cacao beans, part of a small-scale chocolate factory. Rosales Aguilar owns Raiz, a micro-enterprise home kitchen business, creating chocolate inspired by the rich cacao flavors of her childhood in Mexico. After roasting and grinding, the chocolate flows through what looks like a faucet, a tempering machine, before she pours the mixture of cacao, sugar, and cocoa butter into her bar molds. We visited her home kitchen to see that bean-to-bar process for a recent episode of The Finest. But we first met Rosales Aguilar at a holiday market last winter.
I make chocolate, Mexican chocolate. We source all of our cacao from Mexican farmers who work in agroforestry systems.
Agroforestry is a sustainable farming method where multiple crops are planted together.
So let's say a farmer can choose to have cacao trees growing there, and mamey growing, which is a different type of fruit, some bananas, some other trees that just grow in the region freely.
Cacao is particularly vulnerable, Rosales Aguilar says, and this method protects the soil health and reduces the risk of disease wiping out an entire crop. It also helps farmers stay financially stable.
So for example, when one crop is not doing that well that year, they have different type of crops that they can sell as well. And it also doesn't deplete the soil from its nutrients.
Raiz sources directly from farmers, and the origin of the cacao shapes every decision Rosales Aguilar makes for her company.
The chocolate bars, these are 70%, and they're made with a very particular cacao, which is called almendra blanca or cacao carmelo. This is the first heirloom cacao variety that Mexico has, and it's pretty rare. It only grows in a very small region of the state of Chiapas and Tabasco.
A home operation like hers stands in contrast to a global chocolate industry, often linked to child labor, unsafe working conditions, and environmental damage. She knows exactly where her beans come from.
So we have our traditional drinking chocolate. This one is made with 50% Mexican cacao. This is from a farmer called Rayen Co-op, and it's mixed with warm spices like cinnamon, star anise, clove, nutmeg, and a little bit of salt to just enhance the flavors.
Rosales Aguilar says in Mexico, chocolate is most commonly consumed as a drink, shaped by traditional post-harvest methods.
It gives you a deeper flavor of chocolate. It's like a more intense. It's also more bitter and astringent, but in Mexico, that's the way we drink it.
Okay, the chocolate looks beautiful, and I'm sure it tastes incredible. So I guess the first question that I have, and probably everybody else at home, where can we try this chocolate?
Well, she sells mostly at special events. She does have one coming up February 14th, the North Park Sustainable Market.
And then you can find other markets on her Instagram, Raiz Chocolate.
Well, thank you so much for bringing her story to us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to learn more about Rosales Aguilar, her micro-enterprise home kitchen, and her cacao sourcing, you can listen to the latest episode of The Finest at kpbs.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, protests against the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis persist as journalists at one demonstration face prosecution. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
News of immigration enforcement actions is everywhere, on your television, your phone, and your children's social media feed as well. Experts warn that constant exposure to these updates can take a toll on a child's mental health. Maribel Gonzalez shares practical tips to help parents and educators talk with children about these difficult topics.
Now, in some instances, these actions could be directly affecting your child's classmates, their neighbors, or even their friends' families. But experts say that whether or not immigration enforcement directly impacts your household, now is a good time to sit down with your children and explain what is happening.
Immigration raids and protests in response are making nationwide headlines. Health experts say images like these can be overwhelming for children who may be privy to them even when parents don't realize it.
In the age of social media, kids are oftentimes learning information through their friends or things that they see on the website or overhear in the news.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Natalie Cruz explains how parents can spot if their child may be experiencing stress.
One minute they're sad, the next minute they're angry, and maybe it goes beyond kind of what is typical for the teenager.
Having an open and honest dialogue with kids is key.
Hey, Johnny, there's been so much happening in the news lately. Have you heard anything about immigration or ICE? Start open. Start with a wide kind of question and see where that leads you.
For families and communities impacted directly by immigration enforcement,
there's a whole lot of children, they're simply not going to school right now because the fear that's happening in the community is just very real.
Experts say if you feel you may be targeted by ICE, having a contingency plan helps children feel secure amid uncertainty.
A child benefits from knowing what would happen to them. Who would take care of them.
And for those not directly impacted,
focus in on the areas that the child and the family do have control over.
Now, experts say these tips can be helpful whenever parents are navigating difficult subject matters, regardless of current events. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
For more on immigration enforcement and the impact on our border region over the past year, check out today's episode of Port of Entry. You can listen now at kpbs.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Sam Raimi, the man who created the Evil Dead franchise, returns to horror with his latest film, Send Help. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando says it is about what happens when an employee and her abusive boss get stranded on a deserted island.
Have you tried making a distress signal?
Send up a flare. Sam Raimi's back making horror. Send Help is his first horror feature since 2009's Drag Me to Hell. Raimi says he liked the what-if premise of turning the tables on your abusive boss.
As an executive, I see no value in you.
So many people can relate to a lot of the aspects of it that I think it's a great thing to experience with others.
Which is why he says you need to see it in a theater where you can cheer on Rachel McAdams' smart and underappreciated employee, Linda Little.
Let's not forget, I'm your boss. You work for me.
I'm not in the office anymore, Bradley.
She knows how to survive in the wild. It's her hobby.
I can do bushcraft with my eyes closed. I've been underestimated my whole life.
He knows nothing about real leadership or self-management. He's a coward and a weakling, and he still tries to be boss.
You're so fired.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Finally, the truth comes out of who's responsible, who's capable in the real world, and who's not.
I'm a much nicer boss than you ever would have been. Except for maybe this part.
Since it's Raimi at the helm, it's horror by way of the Three Stooges. And I'll dare to suggest that Send Help is Raimi's wacky, darkly comic take on 1930s screwball rom-coms.
This is the
that cute?
Just with more blood in the body count. If the plot feels familiar, it's because the same role reversal narrative was played out in the second half of Triangle of Sadness, when a storm strands cruise ship passengers on an island, and only the bathroom janitor displays any survival skills.
I did all the work, and everybody got something.
But in that film, there was a greater emphasis on class. Send Help is more about the inequities of the workplace. Raimi gives the story his own unique spin, and it's great to have him back in the horror genre. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Well, the warm pattern continues just for a little longer. It's still with us on Saturday. And really, it's going to be a nice start to the week, but especially warm Saturday. Slightly cooler on Sunday for some of us, and really we're going to stay dry. We're locked into a very dry weather pattern. The winds will begin to pick up, and our little bit of concern tied to this into the middle of next week is that it's going to be an offshore breeze that can reintroduce some fire danger. I know we've had some pretty good rain earlier in the season, but it's getting a little drier out there given the recent pattern. 51 for your low. Near the coast, clear skies, very dry, still warm, still dry on Saturday. Nice weather for outdoor activities. So if you're out and about, I think you'll probably enjoy it. It will feel much warmer than your typical winter weather, though. 81 in San Diego, 86 into Escondido. Ramona, 83. El Cajon, 87. Look at Chula Vista at 81. Very warm out there. Mount Laguna up in the mountains, around mid-50s there. Not quite as warm on Sunday. Still fairly warm, just beginning to back off a little bit. Got to search for the rain. It's way, way up there north of Redding. Not much. The dry pattern holds for us on Monday as well. So as we get into the details here, we got some 5-day forecasts that are going to show there will be some cooling into the second half of the weekend after another very warm Saturday. 81 for the coast. We do drop down to 42 Saturday night, and then Sunday 72. Much closer to your typical highs this time of the year. It's going to get warm again, though, on Wednesday as that offshore breeze picks up, and that's going to deliver a little bit more downsloping effects. That will lead to warming for the coastal areas on Wednesday once again. We stay dry, though. 87, pretty hot for late January on Saturday to close out the month. February begins still warm, just not as hot as we've been, and then a little cooler for Monday, Tuesday. But again, that offshore breeze is going to warm up inland areas on Wednesday with some sunshine. 86, it's going to return. Into the mountains we go, and here you're going to see a little bit more in the way of maybe a little bit less warmth, but we're going to cool down back into the 40s on Monday and Tuesday. Very warm, a big surge in temperatures for Wednesday with that breeze, and the deserts, here we are with readings still in the upper 70s. A little cooler Monday, but not by much, and we really get warm out there in the deserts on Wednesday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Taking the whole family to a museum can be a bit pricey, but not in the month of February. Museum Month begins on Sunday. KPBS reporter John Carroll says it's a chance for you and 3 others to get half off admission to more than 70 museums and cultural institutions throughout the county.
This colorful card can be worth some big bucks during February.
This is where we offer half-off admission to all of our museums, and so we really encourage people to come out, have fun, bring your friends and family, and enjoy the day visiting as many museums as you can.
From the California Surf Museum in Oceanside to the Warner Carrillo Ranch House in the East County, right down to the Tijuana Estuary, you've got lots of choices.
You just need to get a printed pass. They're free from any of almost 90 libraries throughout the county. You can go to the county, city, and the Geisel Library at UC San Diego. So there's plenty of places to pick it up.
You can also download a pass to your mobile device for most museums, but there are a few that will only accept the printed pass, like the San Diego Museum of Art. And when it comes to this grand dame of museums, there's a very good reason to visit this month. As the San Diego Museum of Art looks forward to Museum Month, they are at the same time looking back 100 years. The museum is celebrating its centennial.
We are at a pivotal moment for the San Diego Museum of Art.
The museum opened its doors for the first time on February 28, 1926. These days, Eric Ulring is the museum's Associate Director of Marketing and Communications.
At that time, it was largely modern and contemporary art. There were local collectors, and it has grown significantly. We now have over 35,000 works in the permanent collection. We welcome traveling exhibitions from all over the world, as well as send our works of art as traveling exhibitions to other museums.
Entering through the museum's south-facing doors takes you to this hallway/gallery. This little section of the museum is always free, by the way. On its walls now, a retrospective of the museum's last 100 years.
There's Estime 100 Years that shows the history of the museum with archival photographs.
And this, if you've ever wondered what the museum's stunning facade might look like if it were reimagined, there's an exhibit called Local Visions.
We had almost 100 artists submit their portfolios, and we ultimately chose 10 artists. They created works of art that reimagine our iconic facade outside and showcase what they dream of the museum.
Architectural purists needn't worry. These will stay in the realm of dreams. The museum's facade is not changing. Of course, there is plenty more to see across the museum's 20 galleries, and much more to see outside these walls, outside the 18 museums and cultural institutions in Balboa Park, all across the county, and all at half off through Saturday, February 28th. John Carroll, KPBS News.
And be sure to join us tonight for KPBS News This Week, where we revisit the most impactful and intriguing original reporting of the week. And this week airs every Friday at 8:30 right here on KPBS. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.